So like in any video game, of course it has to have some kind of balance issues, and in this video guys, I'll be covering the top 5 vehicles, in my opinion, that don't really fit this much in War Tycoon, for the reason being that if they are added in the game, they have to be as powerful as they currently are. So anyway, let's just jump right into it. So I believe that these 5 vehicles which I'm going to be including in today's video is really going to be the only 5 vehicles as of now which I currently have some issues with how they are balanced and how they work. Of course, that is after using these vehicles for long hours. So the first vehicle I am going to be picking is actually going to be the A10 Warthog. And now you might all be wondering, why am I picking the A10 Warthog? All of us love the A10 Warthog. Yes, the community has asked for the A10 to be buffed. However, the buff that did happen to the A10 happened to be a way bigger buff than anyone could have ever expected. The fact that the A10 has recently received brand new bombs, which these are 4 smart bombs, these pretty much make any vehicle on the ground not useful at all and not really be able to counter the A10 in any really way, shape or form, especially after the fact that the A10 is now able to counter tank shells because of its very high health. Another thing I would like to add is the fact that the F117 Nighthawk has become fully obsolete as the A10 has received its buff. So what was the point of adding a vehicle in the recent update, which was pretty cool? It did actually give us a feature which wasn't super busted overpowered, but it was just really cool in general that everyone wanted. Well, the A10 pretty much just became 4 times better than that, because the only thing that the A10 doesn't have that the F117 has is stealth, but realistically that's unfortunately not going to be enough. But again, the A10, everyone wanted it to be really good in War Tycoon, but the way that it was made is just way too good. That's the problem, it's too good at doing its job. Now jumping into the number 4 spot, something pretty simple, pretty realistic, we all can agree to this, we all hate this vehicle personally, the Patriot anti-air truck. No one likes to see this vehicle. It is pretty much just a zoom and click vehicle where we get free kills for pretty much nothing. Like, I personally believe that a good anti-air vehicle is something like the Panzer. It's not something super overpowered, but it does its job pretty well. However, the Patriot, the problem with it is that it does its job way too well. It just around 6 missiles and any type of plane will be gone. And again, you have 16 of these, so you can just freaking spam them and there is no cooldown for abusing this vehicle, which is my personal problem with it. Like, I believe if the Patriot did have some kind of cooldown, maybe it will be understandable, but a good alternative to the Patriot, which is actually not game breaking and it fully actually eliminates the problem of that the Patriot creates, is actually the VCAC Mephisto. It is a very, very simple vehicle. All you have to do is just zoom in and actually aim your shots. That's the difference. Here you actually have to use skill to actually get some kills with this vehicle, where with the Patriot, once again, you don't have to use any. Same with the features like the smart bombs. Now, you might all be surprised by this pick, but I am going to be choosing the F35 as only on the 3rd spot. You probably thought I would have placed it like 2nd or 1st. No, this is only going to be placed at 3rd. So the F35, once again, is probably closer to balance than any other vehicles I have put on this list, but the only reason why this vehicle is higher than the vehicles I just placed here is the fact that it pretty much eliminates the purpose of ground vehicles in any way, shape or form, and there is pretty much almost no way to go ahead and counter it. Like, for example, the F-35 can just simply swoop down, fire all of its missiles insanely quick, then go back up, and even if you get shot, well, you're just gonna be able to tank it most of the time. That's the main problem the F-35 goes ahead and creates. However, in terms of air-to-air combat, it's actually not this busted, it's not that overpowered, and the difference between these 2 other vehicles I listed is that the F-35 in many ways does go ahead and take skill, which I'm really glad about this. However, once again, the F-35 in terms of its brute force, that is its main problem. I don't think this such high brute force just fits into War Tycoon this well. Again, there has to be a game plus plane. I completely understand what this vehicle is in the game, so that's the only reason. Probably the F-45 is the only vehicle on this list which I wouldn't mind staying in the game or not being nerfed. However, these other 2 vehicles like the A10 and the Patriot definitely does deserve a nerf. Now, moving to the number 2 spot, and this is going to be going to the USS Zumwalt. Most people could have probably thought I would have placed it at 1st, but no, I am not going to be placing it at 1st. Well, for one very particular reason. So here we have ourselves the USS Zumwalt, in my opinion, probably the 2nd most unskilled vehicle in the game, and that's once again another problem that I'm going to be having with this vehicle. The issue that does go ahead and stand is that this vehicle is way too overpowered at actually doing its job. Much like the previous previous vehicles I have mentioned on this list. But the most important thing is with the Zumwalt is the fact that no vehicle will ever be able to get close to it just because of its 10 missiles which are used for the air. It actually isn't that overpowered against ground vehicles, and I really like this idea that the ground vehicle missiles don't actually do as much damage. However, the problem is you are simply not able to get close to the Zumwalt because you simply get sniped by the AA turrets and the missiles, and you're pretty much done. You don't even have to use the main cannon, which, let alone this drone feature which we have, is actually not very much useful. However, the main problem with the Zumwalt is the fact of how easily it does eliminate its opponents. However, once again, another thing is, this vehicle is too realistic. That's the difference. Like some other vehicles on this list which are really overpowered, they're also really realistic, but the Zumwalt is probably the most realistic out of any of them. But yeah, anyway, let's just jump into the number 1 position, because this one might actually be a huge surprise to you. Now, the number 1 spot, the one vehicle that people did want to have in the game, but it's not in the game in the way they actually liked it. This has to be the B2 Spirit, easily taken the number 1 position. Now, I'm going to be very simply explaining to you guys why the B2 Spirit is going to be at the number 1 position. First of all, it is pretty much the best at its job out of any other vehicle in this whole entire game. What it's made for is eliminating targets on the ground. Well, it easily has you covered with its 24 bombs. However, the problem with the B2 isn't the fact it has 24 bombs. The problem is that it pretty much is the easiest vehicle in the whole entire game to go ahead and spawn kill any opponents possible. The area damage and that this vehicle does go ahead and have easily allows it to pretty much be able to kill even people who are hiding in the bunker. And that's the worst part about it. These bombs will even hit you when you're hiding in the bunker, which is the problem I personally have with this vehicle. Like, there is pretty much no use to using the bunker in any way, shape or form. Like, this vehicle just fully eliminates this purpose. And another problem with this vehicle is the fact that there's pretty much just no downside to using it in any way, shape or form, because if anyone's just trying to use anti-air against you, you can pretty much counter that very easily. If anyone just goes ahead and tries to use a tank on you, you can just swoop infinite area damage bombs on them, and even if they're using the best movement in the game, no, that is not going to work. The bombs are always going to end up doing this damage, and since you can spam so many of them, the target is always going to be eliminated, no matter what you're going to be able to do, which is my main problem with this vehicle. There is absolutely no downside to using it. Like, the Zumwalt has a counter that people can go inside of it. The other F-35 also has a counter by people using skill against you, which are really good pilots, but this vehicle, planes can just kill you. That's not really much a counter, because you can just pretty much jump out of this vehicle and do what you're supposed to pretty much again and again, which is of course spawn killing. So yeah, like I said, this is the perfect vehicle to go ahead and spawn kill people and not even let them spawn any vehicle. Even if they do, this vehicle just pretty much counters it in the easiest form. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you believe the B2 does deserve to be having some kind of nerf? This is probably going to be my main problem. The Zumwalt, I understand it's a Game Pass. It does have its downsides. The F-35, I also understand it's a Game Pass, so it needs to have its downsides. But the A10, the B2 Spirit, and the Patriot, I don't believe so. They are way too overpowered as they are. So A10, I believe it needs to have some kind of a small nerf to how strong the bombs are, but mainly I believe it should just have ground missiles instead of these overpowered bombs. Anyway, I'll see you guys next video. Have a great rest of the day, and thanks so much to my channel members.